Hey everyone. Today I wanted to talk about this whole. Well, there are a couple things I wanted to talk about, but anyways, there's a whole bunch of mass shootings. I've heard of ones in Austin and just in many different states. And we have the Indianapolis one that I talked about. And it seems like there are mass shootings every day now, and the thing that I'm wondering is, now I don't have the statistics, I didn't look this up, but are mass shootings occurring more often? Or are they reporting on every single one that could be? Another thing is, what qualifies as a mass shooting? Does inner city violence count as mass shootings? Because there's a huge problem there. But whenever we talk about mass shootings, there's always a thing that politicians bring up, right? We need to realize that if we implement more strict gun legislation, all that's going to do is benefit the criminals, those who do not follow laws. You're going to stifle and make it harder for people who observe legal gun laws and who are citizens from protecting themselves. Also, being a gun owner, it incentivizes following the law as a gun owner. It makes you want to keep your rights and stuff like that. So you make sure that you tread lightly. You have all the certifications. You go through the right training and stuff like that. It creates more law-abiding citizens, in my opinion. But anyways, the left likes to do this straw man, right? And they say that, oh, you don't need an AR-15 to go hunting. But we never claimed that we were going hunting with an AR-15. That's not what we do. What it is for protection. The founding fathers specifically said that we should have arms to protect ourselves in case of an invasion or something like that. Not only that, but a government that is afraid of its citizens will not subjugate them in certain ways. A tyrannical government is not going to treat its citizens like crap if they know that they are armed to the teeth. So, once you take away the guns, I believe that the cities will get worse, especially with criminals. Criminals will think they have free reign. If you put up gun-free zones and stuff like that, criminals don't obey those. They look at gun-free zone posters and they say, well, what I'm going to do is not legal anyway, so why would they care? But what I don't understand is these people, whether it's the left or Democrats or whatever, they want to defund the police. They don't trust cops and they think it's full of white supremacists and stuff like that. So then why are they also trying to limit how many guns we have and what type of guns we have? If we want to defund the police, then why don't we also want to arm ourselves so that we can govern ourselves? And the reason that I'm thinking is police protect the communities. Now, not only do they protect the communities from local criminals, but they protect them from possible tyrannical governments, invasions. If there were a war, we have an extra force. It's not just the citizens. We have police that will be there for us. But cops follow the Constitution. And if there is a bigger government impeding on its people, they will say, no, we are loyal to the Constitution. So we're not going to let this happen. But I watch these media broadcasts, and it's like watching these Democrats, like Joe Biden and Harris. They're almost smiling when they're talking about these mass shootings, like they're smug and saying, see, now we have a reason. You guys messed up, and it's like, why are you happy about this? We all know, we can all see through this. We can all see that this is what you've wanted all along. You can't You can't gaslight in us into thinking you don't want to take our guns away, but then almost giddy. Like in January 6th. January 6th is, to me, it seems like it's an unofficial leftist holiday because that gave them. Now, despite the fact that we had riots for 7 months, we had attacks on federal buildings, and we had killings in the street, all these things. We even in Seattle, we had a police precinct that was taken. And one day, conservatives march on the Capitol and protest, and some break into the congressional chamber and stuff like that, and they act like it's a national tragedy. No, that gave them, they were secretly happy about that because that gave them the excuse to impose all these restrictions on us. I mean, it's crazy to think that this saddens them because it doesn't. We all know that this is what they wanted. But first, imagine if a conservative group, right, took over a police precinct in Seattle or anywhere. I mean, the whole nation would stop. There would be armies all over. I mean, it would just be ridiculous. And then the leftist media would be counting every single time they saw a white man, and they would blame white supremacy. I mean, it would just be bananas. And we all know this. So why is the hypocrisy? Why is there why is it a double standard? Is the word I'm looking for. It's because the left, and whether it's BLM or the group with an A that I can't say on this channel because we all know why, censorship and all that, they work for them. They do their bidding, and they have the same core values. I mean, BLM, according to reports, BLM donated to, their biggest donations were the Democrats, Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden was their biggest donation. So they are not going to say anything because they don't want to anger them. Not only that, it's way bad for their public image. Could you imagine if they went against the Twitter mob? So when riots break out in Minneapolis, and trust me, they will, the media cannot then say it's going to be too much. It's they even though they did that whole thing with the reporters saying that it's mostly peaceful in front of a burning car. It was the biggest moment of gaslighting I've ever seen in my life. They're not going to be able to not cover it. So what are they going to do? They're going to say that they have a reason to be upset. They're covering the Chauvin trial, and I've noticed that even though the prosecutors are messing up and they're attacking the defense, the media is making it look like that Derek Chauvin is going to be convicted, or things are looking bad for him. So then when the jury finds him not guilty or doesn't convict him, they're going to be like, what the heck? What happened? And then they're just going to go crazy because they think that they were cheated, is what's going to happen. And then the media is going to make it seem like it's a betrayal, a double cross, and all of this. So when Biden came in, speaking of all these leftist politicians, when Biden came in, we thought that there was going to be the end of riots, right? The BLM and all these people have the same ideas as Biden, and they want Trump out. So we thought that Biden getting elected was going to stop all of this stuff. But in fact, we have the same thing. We have kids in cages. We have, funny enough, a drone strike and less transparency now. Go figure, What I want to know is why doesn't Biden or Harris or any of the left politicians, why don't they come out and say, you know what? We need to unite and we need these riots to stop. Why don't they say that? What do they have to gain by not saying it? If they truly want unity, which the left really doesn't want unity, they want unity under their leadership, but they don't even want that. They think the whole country is full of white supremacists, so they don't want unity. But why doesn't Biden come out and say, we need to stop this. This needs to end. And we need to unite. Because he knows that that would be bad for him. And that's not what they want. They want a reason, whether you believe it's a police state or whether you believe that they just want to cower to the left mob, something is going on. I mean, when it comes to the Derek Chauvin trial, right, you even had that story of a woman getting busted and the judge taking her phone because she was reportedly taking pictures. And that's another thing. The media seems to really want to know who these jurors are so they can be held accountable. And if Chauvin is found not guilty or if he is acquitted, they are going to go after all these jurors. I mean, if you think that the internet is scary now, imagine being a juror. If you find him not guilty and if you acquit him, they are going to go after the judge. They're going to go after all these jurors and all that stuff. And it's going to be anarchy, not just in the streets of Minneapolis, but I mean, they might want to put those people in safe houses, honestly. But there's that whole thing with Chelsea Handler where she said, why are we even having a trial? Why do we care about due process, people? Why? We all saw the video. I wouldn't be surprised if one of the new things now mark my words, I wouldn't be surprised if the left claims that a due process and a trial are rooted in white supremacy. I'm calling it now before this even kicks off. They're going to say that it's rooted to. They're going to go back to some precedent in history and say that the white men or colonialists started it and stuff like that, or popularized it in this country, whatever have you, right? And they're going to say that due process, specifically in terms of these kind of cases, is rooted in white supremacy. And I see it happening. But we're seeing the rise of the court of public opinion. And what does that mean? The court of public opinion is when mob rule or society has a general idea of something, and we rule it to be immoral, virtuous, or not, right? When the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court will not hear a case about possible irregularities when it comes to the whole election thing. Now, I'm not saying whether or not, when it comes to my stance on that, I'm not even going to voice my opinion because honestly at this point it doesn't matter. But when the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court won't hear it because he believes that, he's like, there are riots in the streets and all this, and he won't stand up just to even hear a case, that the mob rule has won. That Twitter has become more powerful than the court system itself. To me, it doesn't matter whether it's full of cowards or people with an agenda. Neither bode well for America. Now, the left likes to say that people who are saying these things like me, who are warning people of things of the future, are conspiracy theorists. This whole conspiracy word. Conspiracy is not this crazy, fanciful name. It's whenever two or more people get together in order to do something evil or unlawful. And it's not a crazy made-up word. It's a legitimate word, but they have made it into something so that they can call people crazy, right? And delegitimize their claims. But they say, oh, you guys are crazy. That's not what's going to happen, whatever. But I seem to remember back when they were talking about the Confederate statues. And we were saying, oh yeah, now they're attacking the Confederate statues. Soon it will be after Lincoln and Washington and all of that. And the left said, oh, you guys are absolutely crazy. Now let me say for the record, I'm a believer in God. I don't believe in statues of men. I don't believe in that kind of stuff. And I could care less about the whole Confederate statue thing. Yeah, I was born in the South and I have family from the South, but that's not something that I really care about. And I personally don't think we should be making statues out of men. I give my glory to God. But it just highlights the whole idea about where the left is going. You know, when you give them an inch, they don't want you to ever see what's lurking down the road a mile away. And so they tore down these Confederate statues and they said, oh, you're crazy if you think it's going to go beyond that. But then it did. They started tearing down more statues, stuff, you know, statues of people who were abolitionists and things like that. And whether it is specifically for, they did it because of, you know, the virtue or lack thereof, or they just wanted the destruction, we called it. We knew it was going to happen. This is the same thing why people are, now before I say this whole idea of it's going to get worse, or they have plans in them saying, no, you're crazy. Before I say this, I want to say I believe in free will and people doing whatever they want to in their lives. But when it comes to the trans issue, for example, they say that they want to be able to put kids, they want kids to be able to, who think they're the opposite gender, before they are 18 and even prepubescent, to choose what gender they are and put them on puberty blockers because they say by then it's too late. By the time they can consent, it's too late. Kids as young as 4 and 5 years old. Now, the thing is we say, no, we don't want to do that because we see this in the future. And when I say this, I mean, if you make it so that a 4 or 5-year-old can consent to change their gender so young, I can see people in the future, specifically a certain type of group, arguing that the age of consent should be lowered to that. Now imagine that. Now the leftists will say, "Oh, that is absolute insanity, and you are disgracing this community and saying that they are tied to another." And I'm saying no. We already know that there are agendas. We already know that there is a means to an end, and there is an end result. How do we know that that is not what some people, not the whole community as a whole, but how do we not know that some in the community are pushing this and supporting this because they want the age of consent to be lowered? And the argument can be made that if you give a child, it can be made by these people that if you let them change their gender so young, what stops them from being able to give consent for activities? I mean, this is the sickest thing that I can imagine, but I can see somehow this world has degraded so much that I can actually see this happening. I can see people saying that. And I can see people doing that and suggesting it. And this is why you can do what you want, and as an adult, you can decide what course you want to take and what's best for you. But when it comes to saying that kids should be taken away from their parents, or parents should be reprimanded if they don't give in to their 4 or 5-year-old's choice to be another gender, if you say that, then that is ridiculous. The left doesn't want you to see beyond the curtain. And there's so many issues out there. That was just an example, but there are so many issues out there that we need to be wary of. And we need to understand that people do things for a reason. Changes are coming, people. Anyways, if you like this video, subscribe. I got myself upset, but anyways, subscribe and let me know what you think about in the comments. All right, bye.